Thanks for the memory of rainy afternoons, swingy Harlem tunes, motor trips and burning lips and burning toast and prunes. How lovely it was.
Hey there.
There, much better.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, honey. Good to finally meet you.
Yeah. I want to wish you good New Year,
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Now, 2020, goodbye.
Thank you. Oh,
Goodness, it stopped us from working.
goodbye.
Ladies
Yeah,
and
more
gentlemen,
more fun in 21.
yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, at this time, I'd like to introduce Cydney Wayne Davis. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cydney, I want to ask you, where'd you come from? Say my mama. No. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Charleston, West Virginia, but my family, we moved to Ohio, a little town called Kenton, Ohio, when I was about 6 years old. So I grew up there and went to college and lived in Toledo, Ohio before I moved to Los Angeles. So West Virginia, Ohio are my roots.
So what you telling me you're an Ohio player.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I met the Ohio players when they were playing at the Ohio State campus, and this is before they were famous. I went
Wow.
there to visit my sister, and we got in. It was a quarter to get in to see them, and then to when I was in college, I saw this group just blow up. So it was kind of exciting. I said I saw them before they made it.
Well, just think if you had $1, you could have seen them 4 times.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Okay. You know I'm Bobby the Clown. I better behave myself. I better
I
say.
love it. No, be a
Okay.
clown.
So, Ohio players. Wow. Okay. So, LA, Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get your start? How'd you get started?
Well, as far as singing professionally, I started singing professionally when I was 19 years old. When I was living in Ohio, I did dinner theater. That was my first paid job in Findlay, Ohio. Um, I was with a band when I lived in Ohio, in Toledo, called Westbound Extension. But I got to a point where I realized the band wasn't trying to go where I felt I wanted to go. So I made a decision to move to Los Angeles. And at the time, I was a school teacher. I used to sing to my students all the time, and my students were like, "Miss Davis, what you doing here teaching us? You should go to Hollywood." So I finally listened, and I did it. And I lived with my godmother for a while. I didn't know how to get started. I took songwriting classes, and then a friend of mine knew that I was working at Target. A friend of mine knew I wanted to get into music, and so he was a security guard. And they were going to be the security guard for the Grammy Awards. He said, "Well, I know you want to get into music." He said, "I could sneak you in. I don't know what I could do." So he snuck me in. And then I saw another friend of mine there who was putting in the phones for the press. And he said, "Cydney here." And he slipped me a pass. Now, the pass was only for a certain area,
Right.
but I kept walking in, and people thought I was one of the Jacksons. A lot of people thought I was Janet Jackson. I used to get in all kinds of clubs, people thinking I was Janet Jackson. So I was all the way in the wings with all the big stars, and I met all these huge stars, but I had to be cool and act like
Yes.
I was one of them. I met Lena Horne, and I thought I could have fainted, and she hugged me, and I was a big fan. I could have left then.
Yeah.
Then I was standing in the wings when Marvin Gaye got his first Grammy. So I'm trying to meet Marvin. And while I'm trying to meet him, this little girl comes up to me. She's just talking to me. She kept saying, "I like your shoes." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm trying to meet Marvin Gaye." She said, "Can I try your shoe on?" And I'm like, so I let her. And then she walks away, and I'm thinking, "Oh, God, what a kid." And I'm trying to be all cute to see Marvin. This little girl walked right up to Marvin Gaye and said, "Hey, Daddy, look at me." It
Whoa.
was Nona Gaye.
Yes.
It was his daughter, Nona. Nona was about 9 years old. And so she breaks through the crowd and brings Marvin over, and she said, "Daddy, this is my new friend, Cydney. She's really cool. Can she come with us?" And he was like, "Cydney, I'm Marvin. Would you like?" So I hung out with them. I was a volunteer babysitter for Marvin for maybe about several weeks. I was still working my job at Target. One night I got off work, and this is where I believe God just came through. Um, I was on my way home, but I ended up driving to where he was staying at the Ambassador Hotel and knocking on the door. And I was totally questioning myself the whole time. And the door opens up, and his assistant, her name is a woman by the name of Kitty Sears. Kitty says, "Cydney, what are you doing here? The auditions are at CBS." And I said, "What auditions?" She said, "For background singers." She said, "Cydney, I've heard you singing." And one time a guy came over, was playing piano, and I was singing. I did not know that it was his musical director, McKinley Jackson. And she said, "Yes." She said, so then Marvin comes walking in the room. He said, "Oh, Cydney, I'm sorry, the kids aren't here tonight." And then Kitty stops and she said, "Marvin, did you know that little Cydney can sing?" And he stopped and he looked at me. He said, "Baby, you can sing." I said, "Yes, sir." And he got on the phone and he called Harvey Fuqua, who used
Oh,
to be
yes.
the Moon Glows.
Oh,
And he
yes.
looked right at me. He said, "Harvey, I'm sending over a young lady. I want you to audition her." He said, "If she really can sing, if she's got good pitch, good tone, if she can blend with the other singers, I want to hire her because she's good people." And that's how I got in, being myself, and God did the rest. What can I say?
But it doesn't hurt that you can sing.
Well, yeah, you had, I learned that it's like you had to have the skills because Marvin said, "Can she really sing? Can she sing in tune? Can she blend with other singers? And be a good person?" So that was my core for the rest of my career. Do your craft well and be a good person. Like, be able to
Exactly.
get along with whoever you have to work with.
Yes.
And that opened up doors for other artists that they found out. Like a friend of mine was working with Ray Charles, and she had just had her baby, and so she recommended me. And when she told Mr. Charles, "Hey, my friend Cydney, she sang with Marvin Gaye," boom, I got in the door singing with Ray Charles. And then an audition came up for Barry White. Somebody told me about it, and they looked at my resume and they said, "What? You be with Marvin Gaye and Ray Charles? Oh, girl, you in." I didn't have the audition for that.
Yeah.
Now, a few years later, I did have the audition for Joe Cocker, and somebody had recommended me. And at the midst of the audition, the other singer, she said, "Look, I'm calling Joe's manager. You're in." And so I worked with Joe Cocker for like 4 years. So I always believed, be good at your craft, but treat people well. And that's always worked for me.
Yes. I remember a young lady manager wanted you to go sing with her. My baby takes the morning train.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
tell me the name again.
Uh, Easton.
Sheena
Sheena
Easton.
Easton.
Sheena Easton is so funny. I auditioned for Sheena Easton, and they liked me, but I was already working another job. They asked, "What's your schedule like?" And I told them, "Well, I'll be in, where was it?
I
It
know.
was at like Harrah's or something. Um,
You
uh,
were singing with my
Lake
friend.
Tahoe.
With my friend.
Dottie Stevens,
Jody
yes.
Steven, yes.
Dottie Stevens.
Yes.
She put together a really great 60s, 50s kind of music. And I
Wow.
had been in rehearsal, so I had to turn Sheena Easton down.
Hand
And so
shoelaces.
then they called me again on the very day that I had the audition with Joe Cocker and said, "Hey, we really liked you, but you weren't available. Are you available to go to Ireland in March?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I said yes to Sheena Easton. And then I went on to the audition for Joe Cocker. And so the other singer said, "Okay." She said, "So the audition, the rehearsal started on such and such a date in March." And then I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, I'll be on the road with Sheena Easton. We get back on the 5th, so I could be here on the 6th." And then she talked to Joe's manager, and she said, "Cydney, Joe's manager said, our rehearsals start on March 3rd. So if you want this gig, So I had to call Sheena Easton again and say, I can't, or her manager, say, I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, you got you
I
did
had a
that tour
bigger
for
gig,
how
what can I
long?
say?
How long was that tour with Joe?
Huh?
How long was that tour with Joe?
Oh, well, I did several tours with Joe. I toured with Joe Cocker for about 4 years.
Right.
And we toured all over the world. Our first tour was Joe Cocker and Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was amazing. And, Stevie would sit in with us, and we would sit in with him in Double Trouble. So, yeah, I was with Joe for several years.
Well, it's amazing because you're amazing. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, okay, so it's quite a few males that you had worked with. You gave you inspiration. Let's talk about the females.
Well,
Other
you know
females.
what? There are some females I work with. Well, what I didn't mention before is actually I was with a vocal trio named Harmony, which is myself, Cydney Wayne Davis, Teresa Walker, and Wendy Smith. And we used to tour all over, and so that was my core group. But as far as singing background, I worked with the Fifth Dimension. Florence LaRue um, is also an actress, and she was going away for to do a play, and she did auditions, and so she auditioned me to actually fill in for her. So I was actually sang as one of the Fifth Dimension through Florence LaRue, and then when that gig was over, um, the Fifth Dimension and Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., who also used to be they were core members of the original Fifth Dimension. They had the same management. So when Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. decided to go back out on the road together as a duo, I didn't even have to audition for that because their management, they knew of my work with the Fifth, and they said, here. So I have still been with Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. I still work with them for 22 years. They're beautiful people. I also sang background with Donna Summer. Donna Summer is the only recording artist that I know of that I've ever worked with that gave the background singers and members of the band what they call points on an album. I didn't know that.
Wow.
I got a check that was like, what's this for? And one of my friends, he goes, oh, yeah, Donna does that. She splits the
Wow.
percentages with the, I didn't know that. So she's the only one that's ever done that. So God bless Donna Summer. I
Yes.
also did a little bit of background work with Bette Midler. It was actually, she had a television show called Bet. I don't think it lasted too long, but I sang with some ladies and guys, and we did background for her. But I think the biggest lady would be Diana Ross. I wrote a song, I co-wrote a song with her, well, for her, with a guy by the name of Lloyd Tolbert. He's passed away about a year ago, but God bless him. But we wrote a song called You're Gonna Love It. And Diana, and I had told Lloyd, I said, because we had written other songs that had been in some films, and his uncle was putting them on these new artists at Motown, and I said, now this song, this is my song. I said, this song ain't go no other artist. I said, unless it's somebody big like Diana Ross or something. And one day I came home and I had a message from Lloyd Tolbert saying, Cydney, I hope you're sitting down. And he said, there's an artist at Motown that wants to do this song. And I'm fussing going, I told that man, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, Cydney, the artist that wants to sing and record the song is Diana Ross. I fell right out in my living room because that was the name I said. So
Yeah.
we recorded the song. They kept all my backgrounds, so I'm doing all the backgrounds on that song. And then for a while, Diana did the song in her live shows, and so I got an invitation from her personal assistant to come to a live show where she was in Irvine, California. And when she started singing and performing my song live, it just blew my mind. And so, yeah, so Diana Ross is the
Great.
boss.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to be with Mary Wilson
Wow,
up
yeah.
in Ontario. Yeah. It was really nice to be on the show with her.
Oh, that's, I did a little bit of background for her years ago when I was working with a engineer named Reggie Dozier, and
Oh, okay.
he worked with all, like, Lamont Dozier is his brother,
Right,
and
yeah.
he was recording a session for Mary and brought me in to sing background. I don't know what happened to the song, but I do remember she was very, very gracious, very beautiful lady.
Was that in studio or on stage?
It was on studio. It was studio. It was a
Yeah.
background session. Yeah.
Because she had her Supremes for a while.
Yes. Yes.
After Diana went on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
kind of a sad
But yeah,
story.
so those are the ladies. Those are the ladies that, the ladies in my group: Harmony, Donna Summer, Marilyn McCoo, and her wonderful husband, Billy Davis Jr.,
Okay.
Bette Midler, and my girl, Diana Ross. So those are the
Right.
girls.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about a superstar making a commercial for Pepsi Cola.
Yes, Michael Jackson
Michael
and the
Jackson.
Jacksons. That
Yes.
was so fun. Like I said, in the early days of my career, I think it was the way I wore my hair, but a lot of people thought compared me to Janet Jackson. And so the same guy that got me backstage at the Grammys got me into the shrine when the Jacksons were recording the Pepsi commercial.
Right.
So I'm there, and people look at me going, "That's Janet, that's Jackson." And so I knew one of the guitar players, and so it was so funny. So I'm talking to him, and we're kind of backstage, but where the band's hanging. And while I'm sitting there, and I have a pass that's from the production company that's doing the commercial, and this lady walks in, and she says to me, she says, "Excuse me, but I'd like your pass. Like, give me your pass." And I'm like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Man, I'm getting kicked out." So I handed my pass. So she took that pass, and she handed me another pass that said, "Jackson access all areas." So I put the pass on. So people seeing me think I must be. So then the word got around that there's this girl that looks like Janet. And so I think it was my friend, the guitar player, who took me back. So I met all of the other guys. I met Marlon and Tito and Jackie and Jermaine, who I used to have the biggest crush on. And they all were like, "You look like our sister. You look like Janet." And they're all saying that, all of her brothers. And so then um, my friend takes me backstage, and now I'm sitting there, and Janet walks into the dressing room. Michael's in another side. I didn't see Michael. Janet walks in, and Marlon said, "Janet, there's this girl. She looked just like you." And he turns around. Now, she had on these dark glasses, and it was like she was looking right at me. And I think it freaked her out, and she just turned and she walked in to see Michael. So I went out, and I'm sitting in the crowd because they're getting ready to shoot the commercial. And so now Janet comes out. She literally sits in the row behind me. And everybody is talking about, "You look, you guys." So I turned around, I introduced myself to her, and I shook her hand. I said, "Hi." I said, "I'm Cydney." And then she said, "You're my twin." And I said, "That's what they all say." And so it's cool. So then when they were having a little break, I was walking down the aisle, and Michael at this point is sitting in one of the front seats, and he sees me, and he thought I was Janet, and he's waving to me. He's blowing me a kiss, and so I act like I'm catching the kiss, and I do it like that, and I blow him a kiss back, and he catches and puts it to his heart. Now everybody in the auditorium sees that, so now everybody thought I was Janet.
Love it.
And then when the accident happened and the whole thing, it scattered, and so I was just so glad that he was spared. It was really horrific, but it was crazy.
Well, you know what? I can go on and on and on because you have so much history. We might have to have a part 2, part 3, but I think I'm going to let you tell us about some of your. I don't know. I think I should save this for part 2, but tell us about some of the awards you got for your acting, if you want to do that now.
I've been acting. I've been singing longer. The first thing I'll say is I'm a singer, but I have been studying acting at the Roby Theater Company under
Right.
Ben Guillory, who's also co-founder with Danny Glover for Roby Theater Company,
Right.
which gives a home for black actors and playwrights. So as an actress, I won Best Supporting Actress for a play I did called Anna Lacoste. I played the mother. Her name was Teresa, and I won that in 2013. And then as a playwright, I've also had two of my plays, one-act plays that have been selected and featured at the NAACP 10-Minute Festival and the Paul Robeson Festival through the Roby. And it's a play called United Front that deals with a family dealing with the impact of HIV and AIDS. I played the mother. I also directed it, the first one, and I wrote it. And then another play I did called Dirty Blues at the Downbeat. And I found out that my great aunt used to work with Alberta Hunter. So I wrote a play about Alberta Hunter, my aunt Twinkle Davis, and two other ladies, and them working at a club called the Downbeat. And that got selected by the Paul Robeson Festival. And again, I was a triple threat. I was the playwright, I was the lead actress, I played Alberta Hunter, and I also directed it. So that's an area
Great,
that I
yeah.
want to do more. You know, I've done some film. There's a movie about black male strippers called Chocolate City, and I'm in Chocolate City 1 and 2. I play an old woman. I play an old feisty woman named, you know, who likes the young guys and everything. So it's acting is fun, but I also love writing. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'm right now writing a play about my life called The Star Behind the Stars.
Yeah, that's going to
And
be great.
so
Yeah.
it talks about Marvin, talks about my sister Cynthia, who was my manager, and she's my late sister. I love her, but she managed me in my early career. So it's a real tribute to her as well.
Wow. So you doing much work in New York or mostly California?
Well, some Radio City Music Hall. I did that with Marvin Gaye and Ray Charles.
Yeah.
And I've done some other areas. No, with Barry White, I did everything was overseas. We didn't work in the States. I didn't. And with Joe Cocker, I did New York, but I think it was Radio City. I think I've been to Radio City like 3 times.
Wow. Well, somebody was telling me a story. I'll be interviewing this gentleman. He was telling me a story about Barry White and his band. He paid for the band and the studio time in LA, and the singer didn't show up. So Barry ended up doing the singing, and the rest is history. If that's true.
Barry has talked about that, yes. Because
So
Barry was a producer and a publisher, and I don't know if he was pursuing his artistry that way, but so glad he did. So glad he did.
Well, this guy's from the C-Strung 4, the C-Strung Brothers from San Francisco. I knew him when I was a youngster. Well, maybe around this, close to their age, out of the 100 Point Bayview area.
Oh,
And he's
cool.
come out to the club. I used to work the Ghetto Club. He said he had brought Barry out there, and then they went out to LA, and that had happened. I kind of believe that story. It happened with some people.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry was just such an inspirational guy. And I remember I worked with him. I did live tours with him. But it's interesting because his wife, Glodine, also sang background, but she was still under contract, so we weren't able to be seen as background singers. So I remember after rehearsing, and we had a great blend because I used to sing with their group all the time, you know, Love Unlimited. And
Yeah.
Glodine was like, "Girl, how come you sound so good singing with me?" I said, "No, we've never sang together, but I've been singing with you for years." So, but we weren't. So I said, "So what are we gonna wear?" She said, "You can wear whatever you want." And I'm thinking, that don't sound right. She said, "Oh, Cydney, we're not gonna be being seen." And so the whole time I worked with Barry live, the background singers, we were like behind some partition or off stage. And I remember we did the Royal Albert Hall in London, which I had
Yes.
dreamed of doing. And
Wow.
I didn't even get to get on the stage. We were in the hallway. They had monitors, and I was like, okay, Lord.
That's
Because
and
Harry was great. He was like a big daddy, you know.
yeah, I loved him.
He
Yeah.
was. I love that guy. I love that guy.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of things before we end this. What do you plan on next? What do you plan for 2020 20
2021, more fun. Well, I think what I'm planning right now, I'm working on an EP of a single, a song that I wrote called Hot Mama, and I debuted it at my 60th birthday party. Your friend George Livingston was there, and everybody was like, "When's that song coming out?" So I said, "I got to get that song out," because I think that my song "Hot Mama" it's an anthem for mature women to let us know that we still got it, you know. And so I'm excited about that song. And then also I'll be recording the song that will be a part of my play. It's called The Star Behind the Stars. So
Okay, yes.
I'll be in the studio working on that, and then I'm still writing my play, and I look to doing a reading, probably a virtual reading, in the next few months of the play.
Okay, my opinion, you're gorgeous and you're more pretty to me than Janet Jackson. Yes, yes, yeah. Okay. You heard that from Bobby Gold. I want to thank you so much for your time, for this interview. We're going to do part two. And all the way in from Los Angeles. Um, I'm just so happy we had this time.
Me too.
If you recognize this song as we depart.
Yeah.
I'm an Aquarius, by the way. Birthday coming up in 53 days.
Beautiful.
Or 43 days. 43 days.
43 days.
Yeah. I'm gonna thank you so very, very much. You're so beautiful.
Thank you, Bobby.
And
Look,
yeah, hope to see you soon.
you will.
God
You
bless
will. I look
you.
forward to part two.
All right, we'll call you. We'll be talking.
Okay, darling.
Much
Blessings
love.
to you.
Okay, and you're gonna do a show for us. We're gonna book you up here, up
That's
north.
right.
Here we go.
That's where we're gonna work it.
You know the words to this?
I'm trying to hear it from you. I do. It's just not coming through on my speaker so
Oh,
well. But that's a Aquarius, right? Let the sunshine in.
Aquarius. Yes.
Yes, yes.
God bless you.
God
Much
bless you, darling.
love. All
All
right,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, Cydney Davis,
Woo-woo.
Wayne Davis. All right.
Cydney Wayne Davis.
All right. That's
All right,
it. Bye bye.
darling.
Much love.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the memory of rainy afternoons, swingy Harlem tunes, motor trips and burning lips and burning toast and prunes.